G'day guys, you're back with MiracleMAX. Today in the electronics lab we have a Yamaha RX-797 amplifier that has no power. What's wrong with it? I don't know. Let's check it out together. As you can see, I've pulled the back off of it already just to have a little bo peep inside. I've had it hooked up to the isolation transformer, and if we press the go button, well, we've got nothing happening. One good thing about Yamaha and some other brands as well, they have a diagnostic mode that you can enter. Now, I haven't actually tried this as yet, but the wiring diagram, the actual service manual, is really impressive. It walks you through the service mode. So let's have a look at that. So they give us quite a good range of self-diagnostic functions here. There's a display on the left-hand side, or there's a menu, as you can see, and it makes it quite plain what we're looking for. Good diagnostic path that we can follow. To access that, we go to the diag, we go to the FM AM button, as well as our number 8 button down the side, press our power button at the same time. That should bring us up into the diagnostic function. There are 8 menu items, then there's sub menu items as well. So let's just see if we can actually just fire this thing up, because we've got no display, no nothing at the moment. Let's just see if we can go into the diagnostic mode at least. We need to hit, what was it, AM FM number 8 at the same time, and the power button. We're dead in the water, guys, which that indicates what? Well, that indicates to me that we have a power supply issue. So let's have a look at the power board next. All right, so what I'm going to do firstly is look at this power supply here. Now, there is a whopping great transformer over this side. You can see power coming in over here, goes into this board. This is like a sub board. It's almost like a switch mode power supply that gets switched on by various other things, and then that switches on the transformer itself. These two big wires here, they then go off to other sections to provide different rails. So let's just make sure that, hey, we have 240 volts at that wire right there. Just stick him up there. We'll turn on our power supply. Okay, we're now live, and we're going to check across here and here. We should have 240 volts, and we've got 250, 260 volts. Something along those lines, which is perfect. Okay, so what's our next step? There's a fuse down in there. We need to check that fuse and make sure that it's okay. The fuse is just in here, so I need to check and see. I'm on the ohms range now. We're just going to go between there and there, and yes, our fuse is okay. What's next? So as mentioned, this is like a little switch mode power supply that gets switched on by our front display, etc., etc. We have a main startup relay down here, but I can't hear anything clicking. And that's, as I mentioned, that's meant to be switched by our front display. So I should be able to check in here and make sure that our front display is working. Like, are we getting a switching to this relay? If we are getting power to this relay, is the relay faulty? What other things do we need to check? We've got little opto couplers. So it's a very basic switch mode power supply to start up this big honkin' transformer to get the thing up and running. Sometimes they have a thermal fuse hidden inside the transformer here. Easy way to check that is to make sure that our transformer is actually working correctly. Now, if we just get this connector off here, a transformer obviously is in AC. That's how we do our measurements, but we can measure between these wires. This should be run one rail here, another rail here, another rail here, and possibly a tap in the middle, I guess. So we can do our checks and make sure that we have resistance across each one of those coils. So if we just put in the resistance mode there, we should be able to see connections between each one of those rails. Now, I can just touch them on the front there. That should be okay, I'd imagine. Okay, there's one phase, I guess you could say, or one rail. There's another one. We've got continuity, there's no breakdown. And as I said, that's probably a center tap, so I'd imagine that we should have connection between there, you know, and the others I'd imagine too. So look, the transformer, there's no blown fuse inside the transformer if there's a thermal fuse. So we need to investigate just a touch further. I'm just measuring across my bridge rectifier, the main one over there, and we're in the DC range. We're getting nothing whatsoever. So we're not powering up any of these boards at all. So I still need to look in this power supply area around here. Look, I'm not the type of person to throw parts at something But that being said, it's not a bad idea to listen to the experience of others. These do have a common fault. Now, I've done a little bit of research and seen other people dealing with these specific models, and this capacitor here tends to play up. Now, I'm not just going to replace it, I'm going to pull it off and test this little guy and see if that is the actual fault. I've got the capacitor out. It's a metallized polyester style of capacitor there, and it's listed as a 223 capacitor, which indicates 22 nanofarads is what it should be. I made this little tester some years ago. It's nothing special, but let's see what it compares to its specifications. Remember, it should be 22 nanofarads. And in this case, a drum roll please, we are ending up with, 3.38 nanofarads. Hey, I think we have a problem here, people. So I'll see if I can source myself another one of these guys. Apparently, it's a fairly common fault. And of course, I don't want to, count my chickens before they hatch, but yeah, they state that this little guy here does tend to play up. And unless you know about it, you can be chasing for hours and hours on end trying to locate the fault. So I'm going to listen to advice of other people and replace this little cap to start with. Clearly it's not within range. So I've just done a quick search on JCar. I can pick it up locally. We've got a 22 nanofarad 630 DC volt polyester capacitor, which is identical to the one that is dodgy. Whether it's quality or not, I don't know. But looks like they're readily available. So I shall in fact order one or a couple and see if that makes a difference, hey. Well, guess what? JCar came to the rescue. In actual fact, they have several in stock. I grabbed a couple just in case. Now, these are not polarity sensitive. They can go in either way, but I'm going to face it out so I can see the rating on it quite easily. But we'll plonk him in the little hole here and see if we've sorted the issue. I've installed the new one, as you can see, trimmed his little legs off. Now, the only thing we need to do is press the button and see if we've fixed the fault. Alrighty, so let's see if it's going to work. We've got our button over on the left-hand side here. Oh, look at that, main on. Very nice, very nice. We've got some lights over here, CD direct. It does disappear, I noticed that, but let's try some different features. Let's try AM, FM. We might have to clear the codes in it first to try and get it to come back properly. Look, I've been a bit of a clown here. I was trying to get into diagnostic mode and I was pressing the wrong button. What an idiot. I was pressing this button here as opposed to the on-off master button here. Should have read the instructions a little more clearly. So let's go to our FM AM button, our number 8 button, and our master button over here. That should bring us into diagnostic mode. So let's try that. And if we leave it on for 3 seconds, it'll come up to sleep mode. So that's now in diagnostic mode. It did give us a code to start with, but we'll review that shortly. What we do next is we go across and we use these various buttons to find out what we're looking for. Now, I'm into number 6, I believe it is. Okay, so this is giving me the codes that I need. This is the protection mode, so it's going to give me a history. Number 1. It's telling me that it was over temperature. That's what's listed here, as you can see. There's a history of protection function, excess heat sink temperature. So let's just go through our history. We can see number 1 here. We can see number 2. This one here, our third one, has got TM RPRRT. RPRRT still lists it as a heat sink issue. Now, I have had this thing running for a little while, and just have a look at what I've picked up with my thermal camera. The only hot spot that I can find, excessive heat, is in fact over this direction here. Let me find it for you. As you can see over here, there's a severe hot spot. It's getting hotter and hotter. There's 101. I had it up to 110 before I started recording this. So in this particular area, let's have a look and see what is actually in that area. We'll just press our button. And we can see, well, it looks like cables, etc. But if we sneak over on the side, you can see that there is, in actual fact, a transistor on the side there. I'll be able to point it out to you here. Let me show you. There's a guy just here that's a transistor. Not sure if that's a problem or if maybe there's a cracked solder joint in this area, but it certainly is producing some sort of heat there that's, a little bit higher than it should be, hey? We could clearly see that around this particular area here that we have some sort of heat that is being produced, and that might explain our protection mode kicking in. So I have been a little concerned about that transistor, about the temperature that it was running, and I think the hottest that I've had it running is 112 degrees in protection mode, or non-protection mode I should say. But having a look at the data sheet here, we have a look the temperature range. Like the temperature range is -55 to +150. Now that's quite within spec, isn't it? So maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree, or a little concerned about something. The important thing is that's actually part of the positive 15 rail, so we need to check and make sure that that's operational. So here's our transistor in question, Q130. Now, as I said, it's getting quite hot, but really it's a 15 volt rail. We need to find out if the rail is actually working. If it fails, then perhaps it's within its operating temperature. Let's have a look and see if we've got that 15 volt rail, the positive rail. Should be that pin there, I believe. And hey presto, we have 15 volts. Nice and stable. It's not going up and down or anything like that. I've done further testing with this amp and found a few interesting things. First of all, it actually is working. Congratulations, Max. If I press the master button here, it will get up and running, and it will stay running. I've had it testing. You can hear the relay clicking in the background, no issue whatsoever. My main problem is this guy over here. I honestly don't know what its deal is. CD direct amp. If I hit that, watch the display. Here we go. And it disappears. But the thing is, the amp still operates. It's just that the display disappears. I'm not sure why it is, but it disappears. I've had this running for about half an hour with a DVD sound running through it with no major issues. Even that transistor that I was concerned about, the temperature does drop down, so I'm not overly concerned about it. I was spoken to the customer and I was surprised how small the amount of dust that was inside the amplifier. He stated, yeah, I keep it covered. I think he said he puts a silk cover over the top. And I said, mate, you can't do that. It relies on airflow to go through it to try and cool this thing down. So whether it's been overheated as a result of him covering it, trying to keep dust out of it, that may be the issue overall. Let's get rid of that CD direct amp button and see what happens. There we go, everything's back to normal and it will operate correctly. So you can hear I've got sound coming through it. That's in the CD range, and I've switched over all the inputs into the DVD, CD, etc, and they all seem to work fine. So the customer said he only uses it for the CD itself, so I'm sure that it's going to be okay for what he needs. So I classified that as a fix. So there you go, guys. We've been able to successfully repair a Yamaha amplifier RX-797 for that pesky little capacitor, the one that plays up. I hope you did get something from this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, feel free to comment down below. Of course, don't forget about that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future videos. Of course, you can catch up with us on Insta as well as the Facebook as well. So guys, until next time, this is MiracleMAX signing off. I will catch you later.